Hello, Restoring Darkness listeners. On today's show, we have Nadine Baalbaki. Is that correct, Nadine? Did I pronounce your name correct?
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes.
She's waiting right there. She has a master's degree in architecture, and commenced her journey in lighting design two decades ago at Highlights, an esteemed lighting design firm in Lebanon, renowned for shaping iconic projects across the country. In 2013, she transitioned to Via Bizuno's
This,
Dubai office. Did I get that one right?
yes.
Okay, good. Assuming leadership of the design team and integrating light and architecture to create immersive environments. Amidst the pandemic's challenges, Nadine founded Light the Detail, a social media platform dedicated to raise awareness about the lighting and its profound impact on mental and physical well being. Today, Light the Detail stands as an independent lighting design practice, boasting a diverse portfolio spanning commercial, office landscape, restaurant, and hospitality projects, with a particular focus on high-end residential spaces. Nadine was a guest speaker at Light Plus Intelligent Building Middle East and took parts in several lighting workshops in Dubai. She recently joined the Lighting Police as a core team member driven by a mission to highlight the significance of proper lighting. Beyond her professional endeavors, Nadine is a mother of two teenagers. Constantly seeking the right balance between family and work is always a challenge. Um, Before we get to Nadine, and we're going to post her LinkedIn and her Instagram in the show notes at below. So if you're listening or watching this, you'll find all that stuff down there. We're going to go to Mark Baker for the Soft Lights update. What do you got, Mark?
Yeah, hi Michael. Hi Nadine. Hey, this week I've got something close to home, close to my own house. There's a company that does drone logistics called Zipline, and they came in and they installed a drone airport about 5 miles from my house on a previously unpolluted hillside. Set it up on a farm, and they have these red and green LED lights that are incredibly intense. And for me, it's too much, right? So I contacted them and asked them about turning off those lights, and of course, I got the typical brush off, uh, denial, uh, pointing fingers at the county, etc. I found out that it's unpermitted. They never got a permit from the county. It's just an operation that started up, and other people around the county have complained about it because it was previously dark. There was no light pollution on that side. So, but as it goes, they didn't want to cooperate. And so yesterday I filed my lawsuit. It's a discrimination lawsuit because, my photosensitivity. And so now we're into the next phase here.
With before the age of LED, um, that they would have a hard time creating that problem with
Right.
HPS or metal halide or even metal halide, which is 4000K as we know. In before the age of LED, they would have had an incandescent or halogen red light maybe on top of a pole that just didn't shoot so far and all that. And so this is a uniquely. I'm sure these kinds of things have happened in the past, but they wouldn't have been able to offend with light pollution as badly as they are today if it wasn't for LED. They would have to use so much electricity to produce that much light, and it would cost them a fortune, and the equipment would be really expensive to buy, right? But now it's probably $300 on Amazon, whatever they put up there.
Right. Yeah, so LEDs are just so intense, and for me, all these LEDs that they switch to on radio towers and on bridges and on drones, that's beyond what, like, I cannot concentrate. I cannot really think properly. I really cannot look in that direction anymore. So
Yeah,
they've really taken a lot of
it's
my rights.
it's ugly too. Like it's just not beautiful. Like lighting should always be made to be beautiful, Mark. And the other thing
I
too
agree.
is there's a German technology that was invented. They were on Restoring Darkness, where they actually had blinking red lights on top of windmills, and this was driving everybody crazy in Germany. These blinking red lights, and so they invented this software where it's like part of the geolocation system or whatever, and so the lights don't only come on when there's a danger or someone within a kilometer or whatever of the windmill needs to see that light. Otherwise, they're
There you go.
off. And
Oh,
they're
good.
off like 99% of the time or whatever. Some huge portion of the time they're off. And so they invented that software. So I think the company in question might want to look through the Restoring Darkness podcast episodes and find the one about the German company that had this amazing software. I mean, it is Silicon Valley and everything, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
they should be onto that. Nadine, welcome to the Restoring Darkness podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um,
Thank you for
bef-
having me.
no, it's our pleasure, believe me. Before we, sometimes when I don't know, they call it a green room. There's a green screen here behind me. You guys don't see a green screen, but it's all
Okay.
green. So I'm in there, and you
Yeah.
started to talk about the relationship between darkness and light. And I think I just right now would like you to pick up where we left off, if you remember where
Yeah.
you were.
So no. So basically, yes, I'm on the show that talks about that fosters darkness and they encourage darkness. But from where I come from, I was telling Mike before Michael that Mark, sorry, that I come from Lebanon, and Lebanon is a small country on the Mediterranean that we're quite known for our wars and our conflicts. So I come from a country where I've been born and raised in Lebanon, and um, though I'm always living in the city, and I've been a city girl all my life. Darkness was a constant scene in our life, and darkness was part of our childhood and our adulthood as when I became a parent. But darkness for us did not the relationship with darkness that we had was not reassuring. So we grew up with this fear of darkness, and darkness with time engulfed us and became like a burden. So not as a light. If I leave my lighting designer hat aside and I look at life from the general public or the people living in the country, darkness is something that they are always running away from, and they are seeking refuge in light. So, and this relationship between between the people and the darkness with time evolved to unhealthy lighting solutions, because lighting in terms of the reason of that, I would say we had two issues. We had an unhealthy or like very I would say corrupted electrical sector. So a very corrupted electrical sector, aside of a war that was happening and bombings that happening. So, and unfortunately, the bombings and the war intensifies during night. And when this happens during night times, the relationship that evolves with you with night is with the darkness is super unhealthy. It's that of fear, is that of discrimination, is that of, and this grew up with the people. I'm talking about a 40 years period of time, and it's a very long time. So generations over time in Lebanon, I would say, they have a hate for night, if I would like to say it, and they try to wash it away in every possible way. So they try to find solutions and unsustainable solutions to light their nights, to light their homes, whether through, if I start back then, we had like a battery system installed in our house with fluorescent bulbs. And then we moved to installing generators. And the relationship that develops over time, across time with darkness is that we want to get away as much as possible. We're happy over the time around light. We're safe over time around light. And this relationship that has been created has resulted in a lot of unhealthy solutions and people trying to find solutions by themselves in order to provide light. And by providing light, they will not care about what is the color temperature that I'm providing for this light. I just want to see. I just want to wash away that darkness that brings a lot of sense of insecurities, that brings up fear, that brings up, and those emotions that, and I couldn't realize them back then when I was living in Lebanon, because back then when I was living in Lebanon, all I could care about is how to secure light. Believe it or not, when I had my first son, like 18 years ago, after midnight, we did not have any access to light because we used to have the power grid is like supplying us, the government is supplying us with 4 hours of electricity. And then the rest we had to cater ourselves. So we had to bring on and connect to like private generators, but private generators would turn off after midnight. And when I had my son back then, he was a baby, I went out to look for lighting solutions that battery operated lights. And being a lighting designer, I didn't care about what color temperature this light is. All I cared about how long the battery will last for me. So if I turn it off, would it last for from 12 midnight till 8 in the morning, so that I have by that time a source of light, whether 5,000, 6,000, 8,000, I don't care. I need to have light. So if my son wakes up at midnight, I can nurse him or change his diaper. And these customs that creates around light, they ruin the lighting, they ruin the relationship with night times, and they ruin the relationship with darkness. So today, when I had my talk in Light Middle East about not all dark skies are happy skies, was coming from this perspective that how can we restore, before restoring the darkness, how can we restore our relationship with darkness? How can we provide the sense of safety and security for the people? Because I believe that there's a kind of insecurities that are created around the night. And there's one point that made me realize this when I lived in Dubai, is that I managed to restore my relationship with darkness, but this is because in the UAE or in Dubai in general, the government has established like a very safe system. We take pride in the UAE in a very safe country. So while living in an environment that engages safety and fosters safety, you get to feel the trust in the darkness, and you get to restore this relationship with the darkness. You don't rely anymore on the feeling that light is going to bring me the sense of safety, or I want to wash away my nights to become day. So this kind of relationship with the nighttime, this kind of relationship with darkness, I could understand only, and I couldn't like advocate, if you want, for dark skies, and I could take the side of defending the night times only when I stepped into an area where they provided me with two essential elements. First, the abundance of lighting, so I can have access to light whenever I want. It's not that I don't live anymore in light scarcity. I don't live in light poverty. Even if I can afford, in terms of financial means, even if I can afford any solution that can be given to me, light is accessible for me anytime I want. So when I felt that light is accessible for me whenever I want, and when I started living in a safe, relatively safe country, is when I got my relationship back with the darkness on a healthy track, and is when I started again to see the importance, or I can start to advocate for dark skies. So Lebanon today still suffers today with from the heavy power cuts, and lately we had a severe war where, as well, it brought back to the surface all the traumas and all the fear of the night again. But other countries and suffer as well from light poverty, and this is as well another topic where can sometimes lead to a misuse of light and the craving for light. So societies with time, when they have light deprivation, there's a craving for light. You don't see the light pollution as a light pollution. You see it as a privilege. You see it from a perspective where light becomes somehow a symbol of wealth, whether we like it or not. So the whole concept, the whole mindset, you have created a shift in the mindset. You have created a shift in the way people look. So while some people would look at it as a I would say like a pollution, our side of the world might see it from a perspective that it's a privilege that you don't know the value of it.
Mhm.
Light trespassing, as in Lebanon, is like welcomed with open arms, because light trespassing is like I'm
Mm.
having free light in my
Mm.
house, because if I
Mhm.
have the light of the street coming into my house, I
Mhm.
can benefit from it, and I can have a source
Mm.
of light in my house. So
Mm.
it's a different perspective, that when you are sitting there in the situation, you don't see it as you see it when you are sitting in a situation where you have this abundance of light, you have this privilege of having light whenever you want. So it's a kind of, I would say, like mixed feelings around
Mhm.
darkness, that there's the side of your brain that tells you yes, it's we need it, and I'm convinced, and as a lighting designer, I'm trying as much as possible to raise awareness as on light pollution, on the unhealthy approach of lighting. And even living in Dubai, we live in a very high light pollution. The
Mhm.
whether the area, whether Kuwait, Qatar, or the UAE, they have a very high levels of light pollutions. And this is as well another take on the nighttime, because they have a different philosophy in terms of approaching the nights in the Gulf areas. But but yes, the relationship that's created and the abundance of light is not perceived anymore as light pollution in those communities.
That was um yeah, I had never thought of it from that perspective. And the if you think about, humans, our ancestors many thousands of years ago, at night they were drawn to the fire. They wanted to be close to the firelight, and they wanted to be
Yeah,
close to that light. But that light did two things other than safety. It also delivered heat for them, and
yeah,
it offered a kind of ambiance, or a kind of infrared ambiance that is conducive to sleeping and to relaxing and these types of
definitely.
things. So the idea that, people in circumstances of war, or the threat of war, or highly violent societies, would definitely be drawn to our electric light at night for sure. And if it was scarce and they couldn't find it, they'd take whatever they could get. I can totally understand that 100%. My concern is that in countries that have high safety, and they a higher trust, or not, I don't know if it's trust. I'm sure, the Lebanon's being attacked. It had a civil war, I think, in the 80s. Was it a civil war? What
We
was
had
it?
so many wars.
Yes,
Yeah, we
lots of
had
wars.
you name it, lots of
Yes,
wars. We just need a reason to have a war,
that's right. So
unfortunately.
I know, anyway. We don't want to get on that topic, but the point is
No, no,
that
no, yeah.
but the point I'm making is that, um, you know, I think it's amazing for you to have come from that to join us in this movement. Like, I think that is such a wonderful challenge to people that live in safe countries, that, even in these circumstances, I see that we need to use light in different ways, and that we need to be also understand, though, that light is essential to human safety. Not because technically it does this or that. It's because when humans are scared, they want light.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. The relation between light and safety, it has been going on forever, as you
Hmm.
said, from our ancestors next to the fire. The relation between life and safety has been like twisted and engulfed in each other in a matter that it is hard to tear it apart from, or to reprogram the minds of the people other way. It's at some point it needs the intervention of governmental entities to implement safe and secure um, systems that are not related to light. So in Dubai, when I say, or in the UAE in general, the level of safety that they have managed to establish, you don't have an issue as a person being in a dark zone, in a dark alley, you don't have an issue. So you come to realize that it's okay, it's not related to light. Safety is not related to light. It's related to implementing a governmental, let's say, safety, and implementing governmental safety measures, if I want to say, that reassures the people that they don't feel that the light is bringing them the safety. It's the system that is bringing them the safety. And light comes in and creates this mood or creates this effect. But this takes time, and this takes realization, because even though I'm living for 12 years now in the UAE, it's like I've come to this realization 3 or 4 years ago, just like, okay, now, no, the lighting is not bringing me the safety that I want. It's the government that is bringing me the safety. And it's somehow, I find it very hard to discern this from the light. But I think that also governments, they hide sometimes their lack of safety measures behind the light. So, for example, when you go and then when you go, for example, when I go and I travel and I reach, I don't know, Milano, and on the train in Milano, they constantly say, beware of pickpocketers, beware of pickpocketers, beware. It's constantly giving me this signal. Once I'm there in the city, on the streets, in a dark alley, I'm automatically scared. By default, I'm scared. Whether I'm a human being before I'm a lighting designer. I'm scared. And this is where sometimes the governments, the failing of implementing safe measures, is like hiding behind the light and the presence of light. Also today, it's a kind of I hear a lot during the holidays when people are traveling, the governments and the police are just saying that please keep the lights in your houses lit, so that if in case there's a robbery coming, or someone is coming to rob the house, they would think that someone is living in by lighting the house. So this is constantly associating the concept of light with the concept of safety. And those small details, they get into the brain of the people, and they get stuck with them, and the relationship gets deeper and deeper between light and safety and security. So yes, light is somehow needed for safety, but this light is not an excuse for not providing a trustworthy system to provide the safety for the people. And this is somehow a thin line that we need to keep talking to people, that yes, light is needed, but not the excess of light. We don't want to wash away the night. We don't want to turn the night into a day so that you feel safe. We need a certain amount of light. And this is somehow how I see it from where we come from.
Nadine, so this is really interesting, the way your insights into this. It's something kind of astonishing that you're saying, because I live in the United States, which is generally, we don't really have the bombs dropping on us here in the United States. Um, and so we talk about the safety issue as like, oh, you don't need the lights for safety. We've said that many times. But you've introduced this idea that, well, but the bombs are coming and it's very scary at night. You don't know what's going to happen. In this situation in Lebanon, did the lights actually make the situation safer for people going through the night, or was it as they just this overwhelming fear that a bomb may come or that the military may show up or something? Was there an actual increase in safety by having these bright white lights?
You cannot have light cannot bring you a sense of safety when bombs are happening. it's the fact that you are able to see your surrounding, that you are able to see somehow what's happening around you, that you are able to check on the people, or at least I would say when a strong voice happens in a bombing, you run. The first thing, you run away from the windows because you're afraid that the glass will shatter. So you run.
Wow.
At least when running, you want to see where you're stepping. So not to put it in a super dramatic way, it's dramatic in the cases when the bombings are happening, but the thing is that it's not only about when the bombings are happening, it's also after the bombings that are happening, is when
Right.
the state of the war, the country that is in chaos, the amounts of crime rates that happens during those periods as well, because it's a time for robberies to happen, for so there are a lot of layers of I would say of uh, challenges that come, and a lot of layers of fear. The light makes it easier on the people staying inside the homes, yes. And the absence of light, I would say, the complete darkness when you don't have access to light, is what makes it much more scary. And you cannot feel safe when bombings are happening whatsoever, even if you light it with a stadium of light for a stadium. You don't feel safe. But it's the sense of being able to see is what makes it
So
somehow.
you're living then in that situation in this constant state of stress, right? This fear. It's
Definitely.
difficult. You can't sleep through the night, so you're on edge.
No.
So whether you have the lights or not, it's already a bad situation because of the war stuff going on, the crime stuff going on. You're not sleeping well anyways. But then you're like, well, if something bad happens, I don't want to have to take time to turn on a light switch. I want to be able to see. So it's sort of a downward spiral, right?
It's not about a light switch. They don't have light, Mark. Like what
Yeah,
she's talking
Oh,
exactly.
right.
about, the difference
Okay, not
is
even.
that there's no electricity. And we're what I think is what I'm taking from this, from what Nadine is saying, is that there is a real privilege in Canada and the United States in that electricity access is basically a human right. Like, it's not declared a human right, but like basically, if you don't, everyone has access to electricity at all times, and then if something happens in the night that goes wrong, they can turn on the lights and try to solve the problem or fix it. And this is a very, very serious privilege that I don't think we recognize. Mark, is that a fair way to put it, Nadine?
Yes, and it's a fair way to put it. And I'm talking about a country that is facing war, but there are
Sure.
countries that they don't have. We have the power grid. We have, if for example our system gets in place and the corruption is taken away, we can have to have access to electricity. But there are countries where they suffer from light poverty, where they spend 30% of their income on kerosene lamps. So there are countries in sub-Saharan Africa, there are countries in Southeast Asia where they suffer from light poverty. The Lebanon case, in its case, it's a war and a corrupted system that can be fixed somehow, that can be, I don't know, if they have the right funding, if you have the right people in place, you can um, you can work around it. But there are countries who suffer from light poverty, that they don't have even access to a bulb,
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
a light bulb, where they spend 30% of their income on kerosene lamps, where their quality of air is at really high risk because they are inhaling toxic fumes
Yes.
because of this. And light poverty is an issue. 1.1 billion
Hmm.
people are suffering from this light poverty, as per the studies done in 2019. So today I'm a voice that is talking about the situation of Lebanon, because I can, but
Sure.
I'm also, but there are people who from other countries, from other areas, who suffer from light poverty, and they are facing huge challenges on that point. And my take is also is that my concern is with this time is the question that I always ask is that will light poverty cause and lead light pollution? And this is something that I really like to for us to think about, because the people living in light deprivation, the people living under these harsh lighting situation, they tend to somehow have a different behavior when they are presented with excess of light.
Sure.
So when you are presented with abundance, your instinct is like you want to light more.
Sure.
You want to light more. You enjoy a highly lit streets. You enjoy a facade that is polluting the air. You enjoy that. You don't see the danger behind it. And this is where my research is like roaming around. Would this case of light poverty, with the people living under light poverty, under light deprivation, under what would be their light behavior for the future in their areas when they are start living abroad, when UAE now is fosters more than 192 nationalities, how each nationality behaves around light, what is the culture, their culture of light, because light is embedded as well in cultures. So how would they behave? What is the mindset derived from people that lives under those circumstances of deprivation of light? So this is the way I want to discuss, and I want to bring on the table is that when we live under light poverty, and if we want to forget the side of the war, when we live under light poverty, when we live under scarcity of light, how will we behave when we are, because 150 years ago we all the planets was living under light scarcity, and now today we see when we are presented with light abundance, when we are presented with cheap products, how we act.
Exactly. The so you it's interesting that it's almost like you're saying that light is a resource, and you know some countries are very low in that resource, and other countries really waste that resource incredibly. Like
Exactly.
it, and so while we're creating crazy light pollution, unnecessary light pollution, there's people in the world that can't turn a light on at night to read a book.
Exactly. In sub-Saharan countries, they have difficulties to bring the lights. It affects their medical system. You can't have access light to do surgeries. You don't have access light to, and if you are going to, and this population who is already plunging into financial restrictions, the kerosene lamp, if they spend 30% of their income on supplying just to light with kerosene lamps. Imagine the level of how draining it is to just have a light source in their space. So yes, there is a kind of inequality, I would say, in the light distribution, where countries are benefiting from excess light, and countries where they are really, really deprived of lighting sources, and it's affecting every aspect of their life.
But Mark, before I know you're hot. Give me 1 second. But like all overconsumption, Nadine, it makes you sick.
Definitely,
Exactly.
definitely, definitely. I cannot argue with that. I'm aware of that. But the idea is that
Hmm.
uh, we need the other people, not the lighting industry, not the lighting designer, not the people. We need the common people to be aware that a kind of this is draining their health as well.
Yes, it's like eating too much food or eating too much sugar or something.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's exact.
It's-
I think that the people behavior about around lighting, especially with the coming of the LED, people are following the same consumer behavior as any product when
Hmm.
once it was made available and cheap and
Yeah.
the resources were made available. But the lighting industry, we saw it a bit late because the LED came in late. In the plastic, we saw it a long time ago. I started saying how bad the plastics are and everything because it's happened long before. When the cigarettes, if you look at the cigarettes when they started with a label with the name. After discovering how bad it is, they started putting the label on the tags that smoking kills and whatever in a bigger. So the lighting now is following the curve of the consumer behavior, and we're reaching at the peak towards the peak. And but unfortunately, what people get used to those levels of lighting, sometimes we are scared that it's an irreversible. The damage is irreversible.
Hmm. Do you think the
So
damage is irreversible, Mark Baker? I don't know. It's going to be,
No,
I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
yes,
there
for
is some
me,
possibility that it is irreversible because if we kill all the insects
Oh,
and wreck the entire food chain first, and it becomes just sort of a desert on this planet, it takes maybe millions of years to restore it.
like
On the other hand, if you just turn it off tonight, and it's pretty much that easy, right? Just turn it off.
it's, and I think what Nadine's bringing to the table in this conversation is that it's very important that you be able to turn it on if you need to, though, as well. And so, and that is I think, a very, very important contribution to the movement, Nadine, is that fundamentally we need lighting sometimes at night. And there's a whole host of reasons for this. And some of them are health
exactly.
related. And now we've gone completely to a state of overconsumption. And we need to find a way out of this, because light pollution is pollution, Nadine.
Definitely, we can. I cannot argue with that at any point. On the opposite, I'm advocating for dark skies. Just I want this to happen with other communities in mind, with the traumas of people in mind, with the
Hmm.
insecurities of the people in mind. So when we do it right. We do it including every other all the people. We do it inclusively, so we
Hmm.
don't exclude um, people who have fears from darkness, and we try to tackle the points that reassure them.
And that's where,
Nadine,
yeah. So go ahead, Mark. I'm jumping in. You go
oh,
first. I'll write my
it's a
question
different.
down.
Okay. Sort of slightly different. You mentioned earlier something called the lighting police. I've seen
Yeah,
this before, and so it's interesting
yeah,
to see that you've joined that. You just mentioned something
yeah.
about sort of equality and justice. I'm not sure if you use that word, but sort of this lighting scarcity. But the lighting police sounds like kind of the other thing. Can you tell us a little something about the lighting police?
Well, the lighting police is let's say it's a platform to raise awareness as well on the I would say on the mishappenings in the lighting and in the lighting application. So it's kind of raising awareness on the how to do the lighting properly and to encourage people and engage people into spotting what is bothering them and what is and what is I would say, wrong application of the light into spotting, let's say, uh, glary lights, blue lights in the street. So it's a kind of a movement where we are trying to engage the people more into being a kind of monitoring what's happening around them into in the lighting.
Is lighting police a name that's like a serious name, like we're really the police, or is it more of a funny, tongue in cheek lighting police, and we're not really
No,
here to?
it's not. No, it's not. It's not. It's. I would say it's a peaceful movement that is somehow creating awareness around, and it's a global movement. I joined them recently. It's been since, I believe, some quite some years. They celebrated their fifth year now,
Hmm.
and we're like some from different countries. We meet in lighting events. We meet from time to time, and then we discuss how we can encourage and simplify the lighting notions to the people, so that somehow they can speak and they can pinpoint the elements of lighting that it's bothering them in their entourage and in their surrounding.
Yeah, Katia Kolovea was on
Yes,
another show that I did, a show I do called Get a Grip on Lighting. So
she's
yeah. So she talks
she's
a
the
lot about
founder.
yeah, she talks a lot about the lighting police. Episode 319 of Get a Grip on Lighting. It was a great episode. I
Yeah,
really enjoyed having Kathy on that show. But back to this. The what I think that that I want to ask you before I was rudely interrupted by Mark Baker. So I'm in the lighting industry. I'm not against
okay.
electric. I'm not against electric light. I sell light fixtures every day. I sell light bulbs every day. I'm not against electric light. I think that we need to do all the things that you said. We need to light to appropriate levels to ease people's fears to the appropriate extent. That's appropriate. And lighting everything up like a prison yard is not appropriate. And the color, the color of white light at night is not appropriate. Now I know Phil from Tesla Induction Lighting wants to light the ski hills white. I don't care about ski hills, okay? What I'm talking about is residential, like the vast majority of lights in the world are in residential neighborhoods and on highways and on city streets and stuff like that. I think we really, as an industry, need to say we don't know what we're doing yet, actually. We need to put our hands up as an industry and say we need more information about this. We need to try new things. What we're doing right now isn't working. It's too bright. It's too white. There's people having problems. We need to look at this. That doesn't mean that we're not going to have light, right? That's not what we're saying. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah. And so I think lighting should always be beautiful. I think lighting should always be designed with some amount of beauty in it, even at a highway, even at a off ramp on a highway. We should be thinking about how things look aesthetically. Is it? Can we make it
definitely.
better? And part of that is how we light things, and a certain amount is safety, but a certain amount is also beauty and not having discomfort glare, and not overlighting our neighborhoods keyhole to keyhole strategies where the light has to go from door to door and every that I don't think that I think that's overplaying the safety play to the point of absurdity. That would be my opinion on that. Would you agree with that as well?
Definitely, definitely. Things Lighting design is both an art and a science, as we say. It's art, it's science, and we need to include as well the, the environment. So we need to talk about science, we need to talk about beauty and art, and we need to talk about the environment, because definitely we need to have a second look and a deeper look on how, when we are lighting, how we are affecting our environments, and where we should have a higher levels of lighting, and where we should create lower levels of lighting, and trying to create as well some kind of city zoning where levels of lighting becomes like they fade away as we grow away from the center of the city, where things gets calmer, where neighborhoods becomes more residential, and we get away from the highways, and create this kind of transition from the center towards a calmer and more serene outskirts of the city. And this is some kind of thinking that has to be done as well on an urban level, not just only on a project level or on a street level. So it
Hmm.
has to be, and this is what I find, that there's a kind of miscommunication
Hmm.
between the different parties. So, and the different entities engulfed in different entities that are involved in a project or in the city. So definitely we need light. We need artificial light. The way we live is totally different from 30 years ago and even 10 years ago. So every city has its own dynamics. Every country has its own character and dynamics as well. So we need to keep that in mind. We need light, but we need to do it properly, both in keeping in mind the beauty, the science, and the environment at the same time.
And Mark, I think that we were talking about the Bay Bridge lighting project before, right? We've talked off air about the not listen. I'm not taking any sides in politics, but I'm saying there's a "Make America Healthy Again" movement out there. I don't know if you've heard of this before, listeners, but I'm not taking sides. Okay, so everyone relax. In the U.S., you guys are all crazy. Okay, I'm just saying that the government, perhaps light pollution is a conversation in that world as well, that people can talk about the health effects of lighting as well as something that is not about starry skies. It's not about darkness restoration. It's about light pollution. That's why I say all three of those things because they're kind of different from one another. So light pollution affects people. And I think as we need to start as an industry saying, yeah, not only is there bad lighting out there, it's not just bad. There's also lighting that makes people sick, actually. And this lighting, we need to accept that. That's true. Okay? Light pollution on the Bay Bridge kills the animals in the water. Prove it to me. No, I'm not going to prove it to you. I just know that it's true. You know what I'm saying? Like that, it's over for light pollution. It doesn't have to be proven anymore. And so I think that when we start adding all the factors together, that there's people that live in light scarcity, and we have so much spare light that we can light up the Bay Bridge every night of the year and shine light everywhere. Hooray for us! We don't even have to turn it off. That's because we're so rich and wealthy. We can just spray light wherever we want because we're so damn rich. And I think that we have to change the image of light pollution. We have to say that light pollution is ugly and disgusting, especially when it's conspicuous and it's about just trophy medal acting nonsense or whatever you want to call it. We're the best. Look at our bridge. It's all light polluted. Like we have to change that image in people's minds that excessive use of light is greedy, disgusting, and makes you sick. Like that, like just like cigarettes are not sexy; they're disgusting, actually. And smoking kills you, and it's addictive. Like they had to. It took a long time for that message to sink in.
Exactly.
And because the companies worked so hard to fight against it, and the lighting industry should not fight this. The lighting industry should just say, you know what, Nadine, this is bad. I don't know whose fault it is. There's a lot of fault to spread around, but this is out of line, outrageous, immoral, and disgusting. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes if did a little speech there, but I think that after speaking to you, it's like it's so obvious that it's conspicuous consumption and it needs to stop.
Definitely. Definitely. We need to use it. It's a great tool. Light is a great tool. It's a great gift that we have. We need to use it carefully. We need to use it properly. And we need not to take it for granted because for us, we never take it for granted. But
Mm-hmm.
when we need not to take it for granted because today we can light, let's use it wisely so that it can live with us and we can live with a healthy life.
Yes. Wow, that was mind blowing, Nadine. I'm so happy to have met you and to hear your
Thank you.
message. Yeah, your message
Thank you.
really is very important. You should start a podcast, or you should go talk at events. Like you should be going
I
and speaking at
started,
events. Yes.
honestly, I started to do that, but and if the idea started from, I was actually watching I was watching someone giving a speech about lighting, and it was also enlightenment in the Middle East in 2024, and he was presenting like an image where he was so happy about turning off the parking during COVID times, the lights that are turned off during COVID times, and the presenter was super happy, the lighting designer was super happy, and I was like, suddenly, okay, I agree with him, but there's something like I'm feeling frustrated. The sight of seeing this completely turned off created like a heavy feeling inside of me, and I was like, okay, you know what? We, I want to advocate for dark skies, and I want to, but there's something that I have to make peace with before, and I have to work around, and I have to understand myself. Where is this fear of darkness is coming from, and where is this emotion coming from? Like this anxiety is coming from around darkness. And once you understand it, and once people understand it, they would know somehow that, okay, there's a difference between the safety and the light. Yes, light brings safety, but it's not on the light that's going to bring you the safety that you're looking for.
Yeah. Yep. I would add, and we've gone long, but I don't care. Too bad, listeners. This one's going to be a longer podcast. But it's there was a study. I think it was in France, where what they did was they put a lighting control system into a residential neighborhood, and they set the lights at like 10%. But then they had all the people in the neighborhood. They said, "Hey, if you really want the lights on, you can go on an app on your phone and you can turn the lights on in your neighborhood." Okay. And the lights stayed at the dimmed level like 95% of the time. Nobody hardly ever turned them on. Right. But it was that
Wow.
control, that ability
Exactly.
to control the light. Like you were saying, something's happening in the night. I don't want to bring up, but like anything, it could be anything. Your kid's crying. You turn on the light. What's going on in here?
Exactly.
Right? And that if people have access to that and that's explained to them, like we're not taking away your access to the old light level. All we're doing is we're just reducing light pollution. But if you're not as antique as Michael Colligan and you have something other than a BlackBerry, we have an Android and an Apple app you can download. You enter your property tax number or whatever it is, and you can control the level of light in your neighborhood. You can just go ahead and turn it on. And if somebody monks around with it and does something crazy, we know who they are. We know who that IP address is or whatever, and we're going to tell them, is there a reason why you're turning the lights on all night long? Like you were going to know who the person that needs to be talked to, but hey, like we like it off. It's nice and dark in my window now at night, and do you really need it to be on all night long? And so the answer to that question is going to be no. People are going to default to be respectful to their neighbors and use because they don't want other people doing the same thing. So there's a way to solve these problems using lighting controls and the technology we have. But I think what you've done is really totally completed my argument for it, Nadine. Like I think you've expanded me into a place where I understand the issue in a way that I never looked at it
Wow.
from before. You understand what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, I
really
do.
wonderful to talk to you, and I think that your message, you absolutely should be speaking at every lighting trade show in the world. In the
Thank you.
world,
That.
yes, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. This is. Uh, this. Thank you very much. It's. Sometimes it's. The topic seems like I'm talking uh, uh, against the movement, but
No,
it's not. It's just I'm giving a different voice, and I'm giving a different take on darkness, and I'm trying to see what is the root cause. This is why I said the shift in the mindset of the people, the mindset that somehow builds the safety around the light, where it comes
hmm
from, and to try to see at the end we light for people. We need to understand the people. We need to understand their concerns, their fear, what is what brings them the safety, and explain to them that the safety does not come only from light. It comes from a system. It comes from a neighborhood. It comes from establishing this conversations. And we hear you. but let's work around so that we both hear each other. At the end, we all want the greater good for the people, for the environment, and for our planet.
Amen. Nadine Baalbaki, ladies and gentlemen, her LinkedIn profile is in the Restoring Darkness show notes in this episode. Her Instagram is there as well. Scott, can you remember to put a link to the 319 Get a Grip on Lighting podcast in the show notes as well? So if you're listening to this, Katia Kolove episode with Get a Grip on Lighting will be in that show notes as well, so you can check her out there. Of course, go to softlights.org. Always check it out. For now, we're out. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.